So I wanted to explain to everybody how you can get multiple static IP addresses with BT through to PFsense, or that this is the way that I did it after a lot of messing around. It's just been really annoying. BT have been really annoying. There's problems with the router. And the one I've got is the BT Business Hub 3, which came around in, I think it's September 2023 to business customers. It's now January 2024. So the first thing I had to do was configure all of the static IPs. Now, there is a bug in this router which they don't tell you about and doesn't seem to be documented anywhere, but it will only work with dynamic IP addresses. Get that. Static IPs only work with dynamic IP addresses. So the first thing you have to do from PFsense is to create some interfaces. And my PFsense is virtualized. And I've created all these different network addresses here pass through. I don't know how you're going to do that with physical addresses, but certainly with virtual, you have to pass these through. And the reason that I did that is because with virtual IPs, if I create a virtual IP, if I create an IP alias, it can't DHCP it. Same with CARP, it can't DHCP it. IP alias doesn't have a MAC address. CARP does have a MAC address, but you can't get a DHCP IP address from that. So I ended up having to create individual interfaces for the different addresses. 65 is on the WAN, 66, 67, 68, 69. So they're all individual interfaces. Set them all to DHCP. On this side, it would pick up a DHCP address. I then needed to map that to a device, so it became a static DHCP address. Reboot the interface. So turn the interface off, turn the interface back on again, still leaving it as DHCP, and then it will finally pick up the static IP address on that interface. And I needed to do that for each of these virtual interfaces that I created on PFsense. Complete pain in the ass, absolute pain in the ass. But you know, we get there. The next thing I had to do on the firewall was to open all of the ports up. So on the BT side, it's probably worth saying why I stuck with the BT router as well. I tried doing it through PFsense, and got nowhere quick with that. Whatever I tried just didn't work. And I think it's worthwhile having the BT router there because one, I keep the wireless, so I have Wi-Fi. And two, I've got the I think it's Orange or EE, but it's the mobile phone backup thing. So if I lose the fiber, then I've got some sort of backups. We're having it for that. And also the good friends at BT don't seem to know anything about anything other than that particular hub. So if you ask them, you know, what day it is, they tell you they haven't been trained in that. They don't know, and it has to be a BT hub. So dealing with that unhelpfulness, I decided to stick with the BT router. But anyway, so each one of these hosts, you then have to create a rule, map the host for the rule, and that will be the host that has the static IP address that we've just created. So 65 is on host 3. So host 3 is ports 1 to 65.534, internal ports 1 to 65.534, TCP and UDP. So basically everything that hits that router is passed through to PFsense. And on the PFsense side of it, I can then go to my NAT rules, and I can create whatever rules I want, or my firewall rules, and create rules for each of these interfaces here. It's been really useful for me because I've been able to split off things like my HA proxy. I can split off, I can have on the WAN side rules that only allow specific HTTPs, for example, on different. Anyway, it's flexible, I guess what I'm trying to say. Now, you probably want your outbound services to have a different IP address in some cases. So, for example, I run several things on port 80, 443 web services, and I want each of them to appear as it has a different IP address when it's connecting to things on the internet. So I went and created some NAT rules, and outbound, you just create one-to-one NATs, or in my case, one-to-one NATs for the IPs you want. So 66 goes to internal 121, 67 goes to internal 155. Now, if you want more than one machine to have outbound NATs on the same IP address, you can just create hybrid rules here, set that to hybrid, and create a manual rule for the machines you want so it picks up a particular IP address. But in my case, it was just easy to go with one-to-ones, and that works quite nicely for me. So all in all, it's a ball ache to figure this out and to get it to work. But once it's done, it's a pretty straightforward config. It works, there's no problems with it, everything's nice and easy, and it's kind of the way it should be with PFsense. The only issue is you are going to need lots of external network interfaces, because it needs a MAC address and it needs to be DHCPable, because the bloody router won't work if you make it a static IP address. So you can't use IP aliases with it. So virtualized systems, yeah, pretty good. I would imagine if you've got a fixed system, you're going to have to get like a full port network card or something like that, bridge it all across. Or the other thing might work is to make a virtual interface on PFsense and just bridge that across to your single LAN port. That might work as well. But the key is it needs a MAC address and it needs DHCP. Without that, you're kind of screwed. So yeah, I hope that's helped somebody figure this mess out. It took me probably about 10 days solid trying to figure this out, going through every single possible sensible config before we ended up at this one, and this seems to be the only one that works, unfortunately. Yeah, good luck.